Hi, it's Jen. Welcome to my second YouTube video. And I decided to make this one about something very serious that happened to me about 5.5 years ago. Um, if you know me, you might know that this happened, but you might not have ever talked about it with me. So I just wanted to make this video to kind of clear some things up or to make it known some things that I've been feeling that I want to talk about with people. And I just want people to know that this is a topic that I'm happy to talk about most of the time. Maybe sometimes I wouldn't be in the mood to talk about it, but I would definitely appreciate it if people I knew actually came to me and wanted to express interest in talking about this with me, because it's something very important to my life. So before my senior year of high school, which was, I graduated in 2012, and this happened in 2011. So the summer before my senior year, my dad committed suicide. So it was a really not a good experience. I found him. Don't ask me how he committed suicide. I really don't think that's important to talk about and don't want to talk about it, so it's really rude if you ask. Sorry, my door just open because the cat walked in. But do feel free to ask me how I'm doing in regards to his death, how I'm doing kind of living after the event. Most likely I'll say I'm like completely fine because it was 5.5 years ago, and I think I've done a lot to get over it. It's still obviously something that will always stay with me. I actually wrote a poem about it that I'm going to read to you because I think it describes a lot of things really well. So I didn't even think about this when I was making the video, but I think I want to find the poem and read it to you. 1 second. There was a deafening scream inside of him, a scream that no one else could hear. He thought that it would never end, so end he would instead. He would have never wanted us to hear it, but his end would inherently transfer that scream, maybe making it louder than ever before. At first, we couldn't comprehend it. Was it real? We couldn't decide. But those from the neighboring town held the wisdom of distance. They had always known it was real, for the scream had given them pain, but it wasn't their pain to feel. They could shut their doors or speak and laugh, causing the scream to barely be heard. At least, that is for them. It was a different story for our town. At first, the scream made us deaf. Nothing seemed real. We were disoriented, shocked from a scream so loud. That month was hard, but at least we couldn't hear the scream. However, we began hearing again within a month, and the scream was louder than ever. A few would never recover. Although they were no longer deaf, they were stuck in a place no one wants to be. They were obsessed. They needed to know where the scream was coming from. They needed to understand how the scream could be made, for no physical origin could be found. Soon, the scream was the only real thing to them. Once that happened, and it happened to us all, the scream entered our bodies like it did once for him. But as I said, only a few never recovered. Something hit the rest of us. I wouldn't say it was strength. It was something more like logic. We did not want to surrender to the pain. At first, we only held on for the ones that we loved. But you see, once we decided to fight the scream, it was difficult, but we knew what we wanted. It felt like the scream would never end, but we didn't allow it to be our end. One day we laughed, and the laugh softened the scream, just for a moment. That's when I knew we hadn't been fighting in vain. And then I was living, not only for love, but because there was joy in the world, not only the scream. Those of us who smile, we consciously decided to fight. I think everyone could have done it. The scream never ended, but we just stopped listening. Wow. So I'm really glad I reread that poem because it reminded me of a lot of things that I went through that I kind of forgot and would have forgotten to mention, but I think each stanza in the poem was so important and like so important to my story. So I think I'm going to break it down and explain what I was talking about because I know at the time when I wrote this poem, I shared it with a lot of people and people interpret it completely incorrectly, even though they knew what had happened to me. I guess it's not super obvious what my metaphors are, so I'll break them down. I know it's like not what artists are supposed to do, but I think my message is more important than the artistry of the poem. So I'm sorry that I'm looking on it on my phone. So the first stanza, there was a deafening scream inside of him, a scream that no one else could hear. He thought that it would never end, so end he would instead. He never wanted to hear us. He would never want us to hear it, but his end would inherently transfer that scream, maybe making it louder than before. So that stanza is obviously, at least I thought, talking about my dad's depression. And so the scream is his depression. And it was obviously eating him up inside. And he wasn't sharing it with anybody. No one in my family had any idea that he was going through something where he would commit suicide. He was really stressed around the time of his death, but we had no idea that he was that stressed. So he thought that it would never end, so and he would instead, as in he would kill himself. He would never wanted us to hear it, but him dying made us depressed, so that transferred the scream to us. And then the next stanza, at first we couldn't comprehend it. Was it real? We couldn't decide. The neighboring town could hear it. They could tell it was real. So for me, I was in denial. And my family was probably all in denial, whereas people who weren't as close to my dad could just see that it happened, register it, and at least know that it was real. Whereas like, I just remember like, very specifically, like the day after his death, I was just like, this is not real. This is not my life. Like, I have a normal life. I don't have a life where someone close to me has died or like, especially committed suicide. So I was very in denial for, like I said, probably around a month. Obviously, I like could connect to reality and knew that it was real, but I wasn't fully depressed. I had a lot of insomnia and a lot of confusion, but not depression until at least a month after he committed suicide. And then the next stanza says, the scream had given them pain, but it wasn't their pain to feel. They could shut their doors or speak and laugh loudly, causing the scream to barely be heard. At least that is for them. I was so envious of like all of my friends, anybody who could just like go on and have a normal life and be happy and laugh. Like, I'd be really upset if they didn't hang out with me and went and did something else fun without me and were just like looked like they were having like the best time. And obviously social media doesn't help. Like, people posting things to try to look as happy as possible doesn't help a person who the world has changed and is very depressed. And it kind of seems like you don't care about someone if you're having a great time and they're having the worst time. But obviously, not everyone's supposed to just be depressed like you. It's just hard, though, to see that when you are depressed. The next stanza it was a different story for our town. At first, the scream made us deaf. Nothing seemed real. We were disoriented, shocked from the scream so loud. That month was hard, but at least we can hear the scream. So I kind of talked about that was the denial. Then, however, we began hearing again within a month, and the scream was louder than ever. If he would never recover, although they were no longer deaf, they were stuck in a place no one wants to be. So, honestly, I don't actually know who I was referring to, if I was referring to anyone, because most of the people in my life have gotten over it and are doing great. But maybe I was just thinking in general, like, some people in the world, this would destroy them. So maybe that's what I was referring to. But then this next stanza was, they were obsessed. They needed to know where the scream was coming from. They needed to understand how the scream could be made, for no physical origin could be found. Soon, the scream was the only real thing to them. that was definitely me. I I was trying to search for the meaning of life. I was interviewing people and I was going to make a documentary on why people choose to live and why people choose to commit suicide. And really, I was looking for the answer of what's the reason to live. And as much as I interviewed people and as much as I read online, I never found a satisfying answer at that time. Maybe one day I can read you some of like the journals I wrote to myself then. They're really depressing. But now it's like, I don't even think about that. I want to live so badly. When I'm walking down the stairs to my house and there's ice, I'm always like walking super carefully, extra carefully, just because I want to live so badly. So, I mean, myself then should answer that question. But maybe that'll be a different video, and that video could help people who are in that place. But for now, I want to stick to interpreting my poem. So once that happened, and it happened to us all, the scream entered our bodies like it did once for him, as in it made us depressed. But as I said, only a few never recovered. Something hit the rest of us. I wouldn't say it was strength. It was something more like logic. We did not want to surrender to the pain. At first, we held on for the ones we loved. I think that's really straightforward, and what I meant by at first we held on for the ones we loved was life was horrible, but I would never have considered committing suicide because I wouldn't want to hurt my family, how my dad had hurt my family by killing himself. So I would never do that, but that's what I meant by at first we only held on for the ones that we loved. But you see, once we decided to fight the scream, it was difficult, but we knew what we wanted. It felt like it would never stop, but we didn't allow it to be our end. So at this point, even when you're like fighting, it's still constantly going on, but you've made this decision that you're not going to kill yourself, and since you're not going to kill yourself, you should at least try to be happy, even though you're not feeling happy yet. It's just like, well, why not try to be happy if I'm going to be alive? So then the next one day we laughed, and the laugh softened the scream just for a moment. That's when we knew we hadn't been fighting in vain. So I was in a severe depression that October, so 3 months after he committed suicide. But I played this game of kickball, and I usually sucked at kickball. But this one day I was playing with people who were really, really bad at kickball. So I just kicked the ball, and it flew over all of them, and I did like a home run, and it felt really great. And it was the first time I felt great in 3 months. And this might sound crazy, but my severe depression stopped after that. And I haven't been depressed, or at least severely depressed since then. Yeah, I still had a hard time that year after that, but I didn't feel depressed anymore. I just had to go to a lot of therapy and like talk about my feelings and cry a lot, but I started living life again, not depressed. At least I don't really know how you would define depression. I think my threshold of what I'm calling depression is extremely low, more on the severe end. But maybe because I've been that low, I don't consider mild depression to be depression, and I don't consider it to be that bad. Or I mean, it's probably not depression if I don't think it's bad. So I guess I haven't been depressed in 5 years. So that's cool. Next line, those of us who smile, we consciously, oh sorry, I skipped a stanza. And then I was living not only for love, but because there was joy in the world, not only the scream. Those of us who smile, we consciously decide to fight. I think everyone could have done it. The scream never ended, but we just stopped listening. I think that's great. That's like the take-home message. That was the most important part of the whole poem, is the scream never ended, but we just stopped listening. I remember people would ask me, oh, so you've gotten over your dad's death, or it doesn't affect you anymore. It's like, obviously it affects me. It's still a horrible thing that happened, and that's never going to change. So that's like kind of like that bad thing never went away, but you just don't listen to it anymore. You know, I still love my dad and think about him, but I don't think about the sad things around it, or I mean, occasionally I do, but I don't allow it to affect my daily life. So that's the interpretation of that poem. So I think that poem talked about a lot of the things that I want to talk about my experience. So now I just want to say, for people that know me, like, please feel free to reach out and talk to me about this. Honestly, like, there's something called post-traumatic growth, and I think I've had that. I think that this has made me a better person. Would I go back and change it if I could? It doesn't. That's not even a question that should be asked, because I can't do that. So, I mean, I probably would change it and not have my dad commit suicide, but since we don't have time travel, like, you make the best of it, and I think I made the best out of my situation. So, I am, like, proud of how I've recovered from this, and I'm proud of the way I live my life. And I think, as you can tell, I'm making a YouTube channel about positivity. So I think that it's a big reason why I want to be positive all the time, because I know what it's like to be depressed, and I understand the importance of happiness, and I understand that my dad probably didn't value his happiness enough in his life. So that's how I want to be different. That's one thing I decided very early on. It was like, well, maybe I have similar brain chemistry to him. And, like, at the worst time in my life, I was like, maybe I'm just destined to be sad like him for the rest of my life. But obviously that's not the case. I've been happy for 5 years. So I just think I have a really strong experience and can share that with people. And I think just valuing happiness is so important. And people who've never had anything traumatic happen to them might not even be valuing their happiness as much as they should. So that's why I'm so obsessed. Not obsessed is a strong word, but that's why I love positive psychology and talking about happiness so much. It's because what else is really important? Like, obviously helping other people is important, but in the end, you kind of help people to make yourself happy, or yeah, you do. Like, but yeah, so please feel free to talk to me about it. It would really mean a lot if people I knew talked to me about this or congratulated me on being strong. I'm fishing for compliments, but I mean, if you think I'm strong for what I've been through, tell me. I don't know that you think that. So it'd really mean a lot. And then for people who I don't know, also feel free to do the same. And also for people I know and don't know, feel free to ask me questions if you're in a place of pain and want advice or just someone to talk to. I think I'm a really good listener, so I'd be really happy to help you. And if you have any similar experience, please feel free to talk to me about it. I'd be happy to talk to someone who's been through something similar as well. So I hope this video has been helpful to you. And I really, because it's crazy. Like, I have close friends who I've never talked about this with before, or I have a lot of lukewarm friends that I've never talked about this before. Like, one time I posted something on Facebook and it got a lot of likes, but I think talking to people about it face to face is really important, and I really wish I could do that more often. And maybe that's on me. Maybe I need to initiate the conversation, but I don't want to put someone in an uncomfortable situation. But I just want you to know, if you talk about it with me, I will not be uncomfortable. If I don't want to talk about it that day, I'll be like, oh, not right now. Like, let's set up a time to talk about it, though. So I'm putting this forward and saying, I'm not uncomfortable if you talk about it with me. So if you want to talk about it with me, please do. Okay, thanks for watching. If you liked this video, subscribe. It'd be really, really great to have people watching all of my videos, because that's the point. I want people to watch the videos. Okay, bye.